Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Matt from Bewitcher to talk about Cursed Be Thy Kingdom, out April 16th on Century Media Records. How are you doing?
Not bad, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. First of all, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about the upcoming record. I know you're busy. You have a busy schedule, so I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, man.
First question I have for you is, what was the game plan coming into this record?
Whew. I think broadly speaking anyways, we just wanted to top ourselves, obviously, from the last record and do something that was a little more leaning into our like traditional metal and rock influences, playing up some different angles of the band that we've always had but haven't always been super pronounced, and just bring out like a little bit more of the atmosphere and the production and stuff. And so that was kind of like the broad goal of the record.
Did you set that down, or was that kind of like a work in progress? As you guys started working on the album, it kind of became obvious that that was the direction that you guys were going to take.
It was kind of the idea from the beginning. I usually do all the songwriting myself. Like I start off, arranging the songs and getting the riffs going and stuff. And then me and Andy will get together, get some loose drum parts going, and then we'll all get together and do that, get the songs in the jam mode. So it's kind of a progression, but it started off with that vision kind of in mind.
As you look at this album, what is perhaps really obvious to you, but not necessarily obvious to the average fan, that has changed from the first album into this record?
I think seems like people are observing the changes already. So I don't know that it's not obvious to them. I don't know. I think what we're trying to come into our own sound a lot more and just trying to do what comes naturally. I think that's the most important thing.
Is that something that you feel like you've done with this record? Find your own sound, finally finding a place where you feel really comfortable that the band can now grow and expand from where you guys currently are?
I mean, it's kind of a start. We're not really like hell bent on sounding like this or sounding like that. It's more about, like I said, like we have all these different influences and stuff. We want to bring out different ones on different records and just kind of play with the different formula a little bit and just try to like I said, do our own thing as much as possible.
Go where the current takes you.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. What was the most challenging aspect putting this album together?
Obviously, well, we're living in pandemic world, and back then it was just getting together and rehearsing was like the toughest thing, I think, off the bat, because once the songs were kind of demoed, we still had to get that that rehearsal thing going on so that we could actually play the songs. And so that was tough. And then kind of getting the studio time arranged and figuring out when we were going to do that. Other than that, it was kind of like a normal process for us.
Yeah, nothing really outside of the pandemic, nothing really changed.
Yeah, because I mean, there's always challenges. There's always just like going in, there's always going to be unexpected things that happen. I can't play this part right. The tone's not right here. Some little things always kind of happen, but you just plow through it and hope for the best.
Listening to this album, I perhaps got the wrong impression, and that's why I'm here to talk to you, because maybe you're going to set me straight. Listening to the record, I felt like this album puts forward perhaps a false sense of simplicity. And that false sense of simplicity perhaps hides the complexity that goes into creating the record. Is this a simple album, or is it just that it appears to be simple?
Maybe what you're hearing in the singles so far have been maybe giving you that feeling. I don't know. Like, we're a simple band, so I think that's kind of the way it goes. We appreciate the art of like taking simple parts, putting them together to create something that's bigger than the sum of those parts. So hopefully that's what happens, but it's kind of just up to the listener to decide that for themselves, I guess.
Does a lot of that come from how you guys put things together in terms of jamming together, putting the songs together before you even hit the studio? Do you feel like that impacts how the album comes across in its sound and in the experience that it has? Because it feels very organic. That's why I'm asking that. Like, listening to the whole record, I feel like the album almost felt like I was there with you guys when you guys were recording. It has that one take, raw feel, jam session sound to it, which I really love. So that's where that question is coming from.
Yeah, that's how we recorded the record. We did it mostly kind of live in a big, in the drum room. Obviously there was overdubs with the guitars and stuff like that, but we did want it to have a live feel and a more like you said, in the room with the band kind of feel, and have it feel like you're jamming along with us,
Yeah, it has that raw appearance to it. You know what I'm saying? And I think for a band that sounds the way you guys do, you almost need that. You don't want the sound to be overly produced and overly clean. You need to have some grit to it.
Absolutely. As much as we love to play with production and do something that's a little more like just big sounding overall, you have to have that foundation of just like raw rock and roll. Three guys in a room just kicking ass, just doing their thing, and that's where we always take it from.
Yeah,
Or try to.
the album definitely captures that essence, because
Cool.
I really felt like you guys were in my living room every time I played the record. You know what I mean? Like the only issue is I felt like I wanted to destroy my living room while I was listening to the record, but that's a whole complete different thing, because it just has so much. It just has so much energy, just so much power. Like I felt like you guys were really able to capture almost the essence of what would it be to be at a live show and watch you guys play live on the album. Is that
I'm glad.
important?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, man. I mean, like that was like one of the goals, to, like I said, achieve sort of a live feel and capture that energy of the live show, because we always try to do that. We always try to capture like energy, the energy of the band on the record, but uh, it's always, it can be tough to translate it properly. So I'm glad that it comes through like
Yeah, it
that for
definitely
you.
does. And the other thing about the record is that, I mean, the band in general, but I felt on this album, you definitely nailed that aspect, which is great hooks, catchy chorus, the way the songs come together. It just has great fluidity from the first track to the last track, but even within the tracks themselves, the album just plays itself almost, it just has this continuous motion to it. Like you're on this train and you don't want to get off of this ride. And that's the feel that you get. And a lot of that comes from how hooky the album is. Like I said, how catchy the choruses are. You feel like that's an important part of the DNA of the band?
Yeah, I would say so. And another thing with this record is that like it was sort of designed to be listened to from front to back, like you said. Like we wanted it to have this roller coaster effect where you get, it has highs and lows and peaks and valleys. And so the track listing was actually kind of determined early on, because you could kind of get a sense of how the songs were going to go. And so that was the idea, was to have an album that you can listen to front to back as a single thing.
Which impacts the fluidity of the record. And I felt like you guys did an awesome job with the album structure, because it definitely has that. But do you feel like the record is so strong that it doesn't matter if you listen to the individual tracks or you listen to the tracks in order? It plays well either way, or do you
I
feel
hope
like you lose something if it's not in that sequence?
I hope all the songs are strong enough to listen to on their own. Yeah. I think they are. We had kind of a hard time determining what was going to be like a single, uh, how many we were going to do, which ones we were going to do, because we felt like a lot of them really could have stood on their own. So I think so, yeah.
I honestly don't know how you guys pick the singles, because like there's not a one single bad track on the album. I think this album has a lot of great things going for it. The fluidity is one of them, the structure, like you mentioned, but also the time. It's not a very long record. So you don't get bored. You actually press repeat at the end because you feel like I need to go for seconds.
Awesome.
It has that nature to it. You said you spent some time on the structure. How much time was spent on it? Because I felt like this is an album that you guys really paid attention to the details, and the songs are the way they are for a specific reason.
I think one of the like positive aspects of this whole pandemic situation for us anyways was we had this like huge crazy schedule for touring last year, and it all got canceled. So we had nothing better to do than just sit here and focus on this record, and just like all the, like you said, these little details and all these like things that we might not have had time to focus on as much, had things not been what they were. So yeah, I think there was like this attention to detail that we had time for this time that didn't exist before that.
Yeah, it shows on the record. You know what I mean? Like the record really shows that this album, you guys kind of went a little bit under the rug and tried to not leave any stone unturned, if you will.
Cool. Glad
If
it comes out that way.
Oh, 100%, 100%. If there's one element that you feel like drives the experience of the album, what would you say that element is? Is it the guitars? Is it the drums, the vocals? What do you feel?
I think definitely like having the new drummer on the record definitely has added to the drive of the music. Eris is such a just a solid rock drummer, and he's got like a punk background and a death metal background, so he's got a different kind of skill set than the guy that played drums on the last two records. So I think that has definitely helped a lot. The bass tone has definitely, like the rhythm section in general has just been like so much better on this record than on previous efforts.
There's a little bit more aggression in it.
Yeah, I won't give myself credit. I'll give the other guys credit for that shit.
Yeah, but I want to talk about your work, because I honestly thought you were going to say the guitars. I was the one pushing this record forward with the guitars, but you didn't go there. So I was a little surprised that you didn't take the opportunity to pat yourself in the back.
I do enough of that already, you know. No. Well, and definitely, obviously, the guitars and the vocals are a major part of the sound, and that's like kind of the nucleus of where everything comes from. But one thing we were kind of lacking before, because those elements were in place already, so we needed that stronger rhythm section to really like amp up the sound. So I think
fill in all the gaps.
Yeah, exactly, and it really, I think, made this the best record we've ever done so far. That's the main contributing factor.
Oh, it's 100% the best album you guys ever released. There's no argument to be had. That's a fact of life. I'm putting that down right. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no arguments. I mean, this is not. I know this is on the internet, but there's no arguments to be had here. You know, this is the best record you guys have put together. It's a more mature album, the one where I felt that there was no gaps. It's just really planned out, really well executed from top to bottom. You know?
I'm glad to hear there's people that appreciate that, because there are people out there that may not see it the same way. So,
well, that's their problem.
Exactly.
Are the solos on this record a labor of love or a result of creativity? Because I thought they were magnificent.
Thank you, man. I've just been putting a lot of time into doing better leads, I guess. Been getting in like more blues and kind of that kind of stuff, and just sort of trying to spice up the solos a little bit more, you know, like give them a little flavor. So it's not just shred, just, you know, a little more soul to it, you know, and try to lay back a little bit. And I think that helped the melodic nature of the record and just kind of gives the songs a little more character.
Yeah, I felt like the solos were almost needed to be the way they are to kind of balance out the overall soundscape that the tracks had. Do you see it that way as well?
Yeah, it adds to the atmosphere on a lot of songs. It really brings a lot of it out for sure.
Where does the inspiration for the lyrics come from on this album?
A lot of different places, actually. It's lyrically the most diverse thing that we've ever done. I wanted to draw like from a lot of different, because, you know, magic and witchcraft, and, you know, we talk about Satan a lot and all this kind of stuff, but like I wanted to take that same approach, but like from a different angle, I guess. So we've got songs about, you know, Rasputin, and we've got songs about, you know, sort of Devil at the Crossroads, Robert Johnson, kind of legendary blues, old dirty South kind of stuff. We've got stuff like Metal Burner.
That's actually a documentary about him on Netflix.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those documentaries nowadays.
We need a Bewitcher documentary about you guys, about the work that went into making this album.
Speak of the devil, you might be seeing something like that very shortly. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Super cool. But sorry, I interrupted you about the lyrics. Sorry about that.
Oh no, just you know, like I said, there's like you know, I took like a kind of almost a comic book approach on the song Metal Burner. It's about this character that's kind of like you know, chrome plated fucking motorcycle maniac from hell, you know, like, you know, it's just very like kind of almost comic book kind of vibe, and just lots of different lyrical topics. So yeah, I took it from a different perspective.
I thought the lyrics were diverse, but there was definitely something that tied them all together, which helps the record not feel like it's pulling you in 1,000 different directions. So that to me was a nice little way of keeping things comfortable, if you will. Like you guys didn't go outside of the normal path that the band normally travels. Maybe slightly.
Yeah, like I said, it's the same approach, different angles. So it's just like a common thread that runs through everything, and like I said, it gives it a little bit more familiarity, even if it is a little different.
We have to talk about your vocals. I know you pat yourself in the back enough, but I mean, I'm here to pump your tires. So let's talk about your vocals. I really enjoyed how balanced your vocals were on the record. I felt like they were magnificent. Like what you get on the first song, as far as quality, is exactly what you're going to get on every single song throughout the record. But I also felt like the vocals were there to add a little bit of atmosphere. So do you see your vocal approach just a way to express the lyrical content of the record, or also an instrument that adds atmosphere to the whole album, or perhaps both?
A little bit of both. I mean, the nature of it, since it's not melodic, there's no singing going on. It's just me hissing and rasping and shit. So it's like, I think it does add like the evil element to the music, which is important to what we do. And yeah, especially on like the slower tracks, you want those vocals to really bring out, just do some atmospheric kind of stuff that adds a different dimension to the songs, I guess. So yeah,
it's funny that you use the word slower, because I was talking to my son about the record. I was listening to the album. He came into the room and he was asking me, like, because he heard a couple of tracks, but he wanted to know more about the band and the record in general. And I didn't use the word slower to ever describe the album. I actually used the word fast and faster, because I think the songs that you're calling slower, they feel slower because the other ones are faster. It's not that they're slow. It's just that they feel that way. Do you agree with that outlook on the record, with the fast and faster?
It's all relative, just depends on what your baseline is, I guess. But yeah, you're right. I mean, even the slower songs are just like mid-tempo,
Yeah.
Mid to up tempo, and then you got fast and faster. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's a great album from that perspective. One last question for you, and that is, as you look back now at the record, I mean, the release date is around the corner, a couple of weeks away, and you perhaps had some time now to digest all the work that went into this album. Do you feel like you personally are walking away from this album having learned something about yourself that you didn't know coming into the record?
Man, I think every recording experience, every tour, everything that we do that's kind of like on a big scale like this, you always come out of it growing a little bit and learning something about yourself, because every experience is different, and it's always, some fun, but a lot of it's difficult. And so you have to like, reach in and kind of figure some stuff out for yourself to get through it, and yeah, for sure. Like this one, there was a lot of growing going on, and I'm hoping that the next time we have to do this, it'll be we'll have learned a lot and been able to make things a little bit smoother.
If anything, at least we'll be under better circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
If not for anything else, at least you got that going for you. I mean, I was going to say things cannot get any worse, but I don't want to jinx it.
Oh man, never say that.
Exactly. I don't want to say it, because somehow the universe will have a way of proving me wrong. So I don't want to go down that path.
That's a good philosophy to have, for sure.
Well, Matt, thank you very much for your time today, man. I really appreciated you sitting down and talking to me about the record. Cursed Be Thy Kingdom, out April 16th on Century Media. You guys rock with this album. I don't care about what anybody else is saying. This is your best record to date. And I think you should always aim to have the last record be the best record to date. And I think you guys achieved that.
Appreciate that, man.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers.